Hi, this is Craig Stocks, and this is my photo critique of the day. Today's photo was submitted by Len Marshall. So Len, thank you so much for sharing this image with us. Obviously a picture of a, looks like a sunset at along the beach in a tropical setting, and I'm assuming it's a tropical setting because of the palm trees. That's kind of a giveaway. And Len told me in the comment that she sent along with the picture that I mainly do nature photography. I have no idea about a picture like this. So Len, thanks for sharing this. A couple things about the image. I guess I would start by saying the picture feels a little bit like a snapshot rather than an art photograph, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Looking at the image, I would say there's really nothing particularly wrong with the image. The camera's done a pretty decent job with exposure. It's balancing the dark foreground against the bright sun. So difficult lighting situation and a lot of contrast between the sun and the foreground. And the camera's handled that. There's not lens flare or glare or technical problems like that. The color balance is appropriate for the setting. In focus, the horizon's level, so there's really nothing technically wrong with the photo. Now when I get the images like this, I really don't get any background usually, so I don't know the backstory to the image. I don't know what narrative might go along with the image. If this is capturing, if a narrative says this is the view from our back porch, then I would say it's a very successful image, and also I'd say you're very successful in finding a place to have a back porch. I guess it could also be just a memory that we were here and this is what we saw, and there's nothing wrong with pictures like that. It's a bit like cooking. Sometimes you want to create a Thanksgiving feast, and other times you just want a snack. If you're wanting to kind of venture into landscape photography, there's a couple of things that you might think about. That first of all, if we look at this image, if we look at the foreground, for instance, and we can pull up the shadows, and there is a fair amount of detail still available in the foreground, but it's not a very interesting foreground, so that doesn't really do much to help the image. I don't know if the building over here is important, but if we think about cropping, we might crop that building out, and that gives it maybe a little bit more of a balanced feel. We could also brighten it up a little bit, and that gives it a little bit more of a feeling of staring into the sun. And in fact, we could even take it a step further if we wanted to darken the sky and possibly even pull some blue into that sky, because typically when you're standing and looking at a scene like this, you kind of feel like the sky is blue even if the camera records it as not being real blue. The other thing you could do is take the crop even a little bit further and crop it down to just kind of a very simple color study, looking at the blue of the water, the yellow and orange of the sunset, and then the sky up above. Now, going back to the original image, because there's not any clouds in the sky, a scene like this is not going to generate the kind of brilliant sunset that we normally associate with great sunset pictures, and that's kind of just the hand you're dealt. But there are some things you can do even if you don't have a great sky. And what I would say is if you're wanting to spend the time and create a more interesting image from the scene, take the time to walk around the scene a little bit. If we look at the details in the foreground, and let me brighten up the foreground again so we can see it. There's some boardwalks and looks like walks and stairs going down to the beach. There's looks like strings of lights along poles here. There's some seagrasses and fences in the foreground. We've got a couple of palm trees here. And all those things can make an interesting foreground. That probably the best advice I could give in general when you're thinking about landscape images, especially at sunrise and sunset. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the beauty of the sky or the beauty of the sunset. But think in terms of some sort of a foreground object to anchor the image, so that the photos, not just about the sunset, but the sunset just becomes the time when the picture was taken, or maybe a background to something that's interesting. And technically speaking, probably the easiest way to approach it would be to wander around and look for graphic shapes that you can create a silhouette in front of the sunset, possibly using palm trees or the stairs or the walkway or the railings of the handrail, maybe including these lights somehow, or the verticals in the fence or the seagrasses. As you wander around, you can probably find some interesting shapes of some sort to create a graphic element that kind of anchors the image and let the sunset then become the background. So that's what I think with this image. Overall, I think it's a successful image. Certainly, technically, there's nothing wrong with the image. It captures the scene very nicely. And Lynn, I want to thank you a lot for providing this image for us. I think photo critiques, whether it's your image or someone else's image, is a great way to expand your thinking. And even if you disagree with my comments, which is very likely, just the process of thinking about it will help you really crystallize in your mind what you think about images and what kind of photos you want to take. So thanks for joining me, and have a great day.